So I take us to the second half of this session, and I want to talk a bit about security, confidential cloud, and the evolutions we have been working on and that are coming. Ben mentioned it at the beginning. Security is really in our core DNA. So everything we are doing, we are striving to have full and the most modern cryptographical protection. End-to-end encryption, of course. We have complex interfacing into your security and key management systems. And we do this, of course, for messaging Cloud9. And we extend our capabilities into external network capabilities, something we call confidential compute. Of course, I come to this a little later. Just a reminder, we serve more than 500,000 of humans, a few thousand bots on the systems. And the bots are obviously merging into agents as we speak. So a lot of excitement, a lot of new capabilities are coming, and we will have a look on how Symphony can facilitate complex exchanges and various communication things. Just a little word. Last year on Innovate, I was speaking about post-quantum cryptography. It took us a little longer because some of the software libraries for the various endpoint technologies we are using and that the whole industry is using took a little longer to be ready. This is now the case. So I just want to ensure that everyone to understand that we're going to push PQC, so post-quantum cryptography, into production later this year, early next year. So well ahead of the doomsday of 2020-30. As you might have seen, Google has pulled forward from 2035 to 2029 the full withdrawal of RSA, TSL type of technology that is sitting on relatively weak asymmetrical encryption. So moving on, I'm very proud to share that what we call the confidential compute, that is an extremely secure modern environment on the cloud, is in production. So we have fully managed to get the sign-off of several Tier 1 banks on this one, which is quite an endeavor. And we have our first instances running on production, which is a very, very, very important milestone for us. And I hope I'll be able to explain in a few words on why this. OK, with this comes what we call the Agent Studio. So the Agent Studio is a way to build and run agentic agents in confidential compute, so on the cloud, operated by Symphony, but without any means to access the cryptographical spaces where the data gets decrypted. Fully owned by you. You manage the keys. You can run key revocations, key rotations. It is invisible to us, but it is important because our current on-prem deployment scheme for some of the data critical things like data export bridges and stuff like this is pretty cumbersome to manage. If there is a critical security patch, for example, it can easily take a month before it hits in production, while the expectations is 24 hours for a level 0 patch. So I mentioned chatbots becoming agents. So there are lots of things happening in the industry around the MCP protocols, agent-to-agent protocols. So of course, we implement those, but we try to extend them. Of course, Symphony is also available as an MCP server, so it's very easy from an agent to consume Symphony, reading, sending messages, whatever you want to do through our platform, perhaps send something to WhatsApp, whatever is needed. And another thing I'm pretty proud of, this time not so much about Symphony, but about the industry as a whole. So I'm part of the Finos organization. I'm a board member of Finos. That's the open source foundation for the financial industry. A lot of you here in the room have your fingers in this too. So Finos, that is a daughter organization of the Linux Foundation, has decided to fork, so to create a copy of an existing workflow management system that has been gradually taken by a commercial company private. So it was drifting away from a common open source tool. So Finos has decided to take this on. So a couple of key actors are in there. Symphony is part of it, all states. A few large institutions are participating into this. And this is a full-blown agentic workflow management solution. Again, open source. It's free of charge. And of course, we make it available in the Agent Studio. So in essence, we enter the world of agentic traffic full speed. But just to come back briefly to the confidential compute. So initially, as I said, it was to move on-prem components over to the cloud. Type of win-win situation because it simplifies everything for both Symphony and our customers. So a relatively easy concept to grasp, perhaps less so to implement, but, but it did ring a bell. Now we have this super secure cloud platform that you can consider as an extension of your own network and your own data centers. And it shows that we receive a lot of interest and inquiries on, can we use the system to run agents in a highly protected way? The answer is, of course, yes. Is this a suitable system? And this is what we think very strongly, and Ben mentioned this briefly, for external, so inter-firm workflows. Because it is pretty easy to use an MCP protocol to talk to someone, but it is not easy at all to do this in a regulated environment. So what we aim to do, or what we are doing, is to combine the Symphony network, so the reach, the directory, the knowledge of who participates, the authorization, identification of actors on the platform. We couple this with our standard crypto model, so anyone who uses our software libraries can participate with full end-to-end encryption and customer-managed keys. And we put all of this on the confidential compute platform. And we think that this is really these are the building blocks to share workflows, to play with agents, to implement agents, all of this with extremely high cryptographic protection. So, of course, everything we built for the human chat platform, that is essentially the standard controls like data loss protection, info barriers, but also the full audit trails. Everything is ready. So whether an agent or a human is using the platform doesn't really matter a lot for us. So it might matter a bit, of course, for if an agent starts to do super high frequent interactions with the platform. So there is a little bit of throttling or negotiation involved, depending on what type of workflows are implemented. But fundamentally, it doesn't matter. The whole platform is available. The whole regulatory mechanisms are available. And as I said, we receive quite a lot of inquiries to see what now can be done with this platform. So if this rings a bell, come and talk to us. It is not conceivable currently to open agentic workflows over the clouds, over standard protocols. It is definitely feasible over Symphony. So that's kind of very, very quickly what I wanted to share on where we are going with PQC, post-quantum cryptography, and how we intend to place confidential compute on the cloud for future external facing workloads and network extensions of your own enclosures. And I think that was it. Thanks for being here. And with this, I welcome Rob Friend and Richard Ring, my dear colleagues.